Hello, Marvelous, and welcome to another new edition of the MCUExchange podcast. We are exactly 2 months away from the first Phase 4 movie, Black Widow. And it's been a apparently slow week for MCU news, but there's still significant news along the way, and we're going to give it to you. My name is Aaron, and I'll be your host for this episode. Alongside me is Charles.
What's up? Glad to be back.
And Joe.
Hello.
And I just want to give a shout out to our listeners over at Spotify, Podbean, and at YouTube. Please do like us on our new Facebook page. It's a brand new Facebook page with all new content. That's facebook.com/the MCUExchange. Let's get right to it here at the rundown. First up, we have our first official look at Randall Park's Jimmy Woo on the set of WandaVision. And he's a breakout character from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I love his character. And he is seen talking to Monica Rambeau in full sword uniform. And Charles, what do you think? Could this be a chance encounter, or could be an alliance brewing between these two organizations?
Well, the ideal direction I hope they do with Jimmy Woo in my head is that they make him into a sword agent, because Jimmy Woo is sort of a semi big deal in the comics. He's not like a small time FBI agent. He's actually the guy sort of handling the Agents of Atlas group. And currently, with how things are, or with how we saw things with him in Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's sort of just like a bumbling FBI agent that's kind of like an idiot. He's like, he
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a guy who could handle a clandestine sort of secret superhero team on his own. So I hope they sort of maybe promote him into a sword agent here, and it's not like an exactly an FBI sword alliance, and it's more of like it's sword investigating into something big. That's my hope for it. If they make
Mhm.
him FBI agent, if they keep him as an FBI agent, I'll be somewhat bummed. But it is nice to see characters like Jimmy Woo, like him, pop up in installments like this.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think his introduction it was more of a joke character in Ant-Man, and it fits the franchise that they built up. But I think there's so much more to the character that can really lean into. And if Sword is like the sequel organization to Shield, they can do a lot with it. So him becoming a Sword member maybe connects to him having a friendship with Ant-Man as well. Like, the question for me is also like, what is Sword exactly? Is this maybe a spin-off from that end credit sequence from Far From Home that it actually has to do with space, or is it just a copycat of Shield run by the government? So I'm really curious, because I can kind of imagine, like, if they try to make him less of a joke character, that he's kind of thrust into the situation, has to prove himself, and alongside Rambeau, that would make for quite an interesting scenario, especially if he's still, because I think the actor is fantastic. He plays the, yes, it is a joke character. He played it really well. So I think I really hope they do a lot more with him.
I think this is an opportunity for for the Marvel Studios to flesh out the character even more. We've sort of get introduced to him, what he's like in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and now we're starting to dig deep into this character here in WandaVision. And you know what, guys? What's interesting here is that whatever is happening to Wanda has caught the attention of the Federal Law Enforcement Agency, or the FBI. And we
Mm.
start to wonder what other agencies could come in, and and we all know that it will eventually lead to Doctor Strange getting caught in the crossfire in the action. And how massive is the reality altering shenanigans of Wanda Maximoff, that you put a thought into it that it will attract an Earth-based organization such as the FBI. It's maybe a big thing, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Because in Loki, we've got like the TVA sort of intervening in whatever Loki's up to, and I wouldn't actually be surprised if the TVA at one point sort of gets mentioned here, especially when the multiverse starts to like break apart because of Wanda. I'm sure there's going to be something like that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the all the organizations sort of convene into this onto this like
Mm.
problem by Wanda and Vision.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the TVA ends up being like the future version of Sword, and they connect it that way, or an
Oh yeah.
alternate dimension
Yeah,
version of Sword.
Mhm.
like a branch of sword, like deals with interdimensional stuff. Cool thing because in this world, in this post Infinity Saga world, there are currently no Avengers, so it makes
Oh
sense that
yeah.
other agencies would fill in and fill under the gaps, like they do this sort of things. Next news is there's a new casting breakdown that is released, or that's been leaked or released, I don't know, for the Loki Disney Plus series, and it reveals several more TVA agents. It's a given. That we're going to explore the Time Variance Authority, and it's going to be interesting that we're going to see them fleshed out as we get to know more about the organization. Joe, what role do you think these characters, like the other agents, would play in the series? Are they going to be just a background character, or they're going to be fleshed out just like what's happening in Agents of Shield, where they have several storylines?
What I find interesting is that we don't know how much of the series is going to be about TVA. It feels like what I think is going to happen is we'll have a small group of TVA agents that kind of has to hunt down Loki through time and dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love the fact that, just thinking about it, it's a future kind of like time cops situation, and they have interns. That to me is just kind of hilarious. Yeah. So I think they're going to pretty much have a small group that is chasing down Loki, because I don't think they're going to keep him at that TVA prison for long. It doesn't seem like they'll do that for all the 6 or 8 episodes. But the one thing I'm curious about is how exactly they plan on connecting it all, because like I'm having a real, like, it's such an interesting concept that what's the end goal of this series? Is TVA the villain, or is it just an organization trying to stop him? Is there a bigger villain we don't know about? I'm really, really curious, and I can't wait to see what the, because my only fear is if I hear intern, I only think of Thor.
Oh yeah, that
So
little one shot.
yeah, so let's see what happens.
My biggest takeaway with this is that just hearing about the intern stuff, the disgruntled employee, I hope he gets sort of like a version of The Office with
Oh my
these
god, yeah.
TVA. Like they're all fucking idiots. It'll be like that Taika one shot with Daryl and Thor, and like
Yeah.
the intern's just like spinning in his chair, while the disgruntled employee is like he's pissed, and then they all like have this big low key problem they can't seem to like get their hands on. It's gonna be.
Yeah.
It sounds. This idea sounds fucking hilarious in my head. That I'd be bummed if it doesn't like sort of materialize on screen in
Yeah.
any sort of similarities. So I think I'm setting myself up for disappointment, but I just
Mhm.
want it to be fucking straight up The Office style, bumbling idiot TV agents, especially with Owen Wilson rumored to be part of their group.
Yeah, he's going
Yeah.
to be a leader of sorts, right? And I mean, we all know Loki wants to work alone. This version of Loki wants to work alone, and other versions of Loki wants to work alone. But could we see him like maybe somewhere down the 5th or 6th episode, maybe teaming up with the TVA agents against the bigger threat?
Sort of makes sense that these two sort of people at odds with each other sort of team up for the bigger threat. I mean, obviously, you have to figure out what the big threat is. Is it gonna be Kang? Is it gonna be like a totally different character?
Mm-hmm.
If there's even a threat, Loki, as far as we know, Loki could be that fucking threat, and that
Yeah.
it's like Loki sort of the antagonist here. Even he's the titular character, and that the TV are actually the good guys trying to keep everything from falling apart. It could be sort of that arrangement.
I think it's going to be interesting because, like, the thing is, we don't know how they're going to portray TVA, and I agree with Charles. I would absolutely love to see an Office kind of scenario, especially because there's just, at one point you're going to get tired of this job. Um, I can't. I kind of think that this is the question, if they're going to, because every show they've done or teased up till now is doing something rather unique. So I could see them kind of just chasing down Loki throughout the series until they finally cornered him and he somehow escapes. Um, or there is a second season kind of already teased.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see him kind of become an unofficial member of the TVA. because he'll just kind of get screwed over by someone and he wants his revenge, so he joins with TVA and becomes like a member of them.
I can see that happening. Maybe a few missions along the way. He will be there with the team. Trying to help them out, and then screwing them up once after like 3 episodes, 4 episodes, right?
Just each episode, he's a TVA member, but he screws everyone over each time.
Like they're making a deal. Okay, you're our prisoner, but you're going to help us in a way, right? Like that.
And he has constantly pranks them.
Yeah, just like what happened in Thor: The Dark World, right? Where Thor, I don't trust you, but you need to help me. Right?
Yeah.
Like that dynamic. Interesting. And what is interesting about the Disney Plus shows that Marvel is breaking ground. They're taking risk, and can't wait to see it. Well, speaking of another Disney Plus show, we have another Disney Plus news here. It's Marvel Studios is looking for a Alison Brie type actress to star in She-Hulk. I don't know why they don't cast Alison Brie herself. Maybe she isn't available, or I don't know. Charles, who do you want to see? Who do you want to play She-Hulk in the MCU?
It's so funny because I think 2 episodes ago with me and Charles Murphy's podcast, I said that I wanted actually someone like Alison Brie to take the role because he wanted Aubrey Plaza. I was sort of like, yeah, maybe Alison Brie can take it. She's sort of kick ass in Glow. So hearing this news, it's kind of like, shit. I guess that's what they're going for. But yeah, it is weird that they're not getting Alison Brie. Like you might as well get the actress who you're sort of prototyping all the sort of your ideal Jennifer Walters at. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think they should just get her. I'm sure there's a lot of options, but because their prototype is so specific, I don't see why they just don't get her.
I haven't seen much from Alison Brie. I still have not watched Glow. But I do think, like Audrey Plaza, I've heard the podcast. I kind of like the idea because she has that little snark that would be an interesting character development for a character turning into Hulk. I do find it interesting that they say Alison Brie type as that specific. I can imagine that they are trying to get Alison Brie, but they're kind of keeping their options open, similar like the situation with for the Hawkeye show with Kate Bishop, because they know the actress they want, but they're unsure, so they're looking for similar types of characters of actors. What I am interested in also is because right now a lot of people online are discussing is like, do you need someone who is very muscular to play She-Hulk, or are they going to use CGI? And I think that's an interesting question because, She-Hulk isn't a character that necessarily has to be CGI. So I'm curious if they're still looking to castings as well, if they're trying to keep that option open, so along someone who's the Jennifer Walters and someone who would then become She-Hulk.
With regards to the She-Hulk sort of CGI thing, I think it's so hard because you've got Mark Ruffalo. If the three of us gang up on Mark Ruffalo, we could beat him up. And but there's there's no requirement for him to be, oh, you gotta be buff because you're playing this fucking Hulk guy. In my head, I think it's only fair that the actress shouldn't be subjected to sort of that pressure.
Yeah.
She-Hulk she's a fucking Hulk, and
Yes.
can pretty much get the biggest female bodybuilder around. It's still not gonna be a character that could stand up to a character like Hulk, or in the future someone like The Thing, or someone like Red Hulk, or just on the visual level you want to keep things consistent. And I think CGI is the route to go.
I mean, the interesting thing is this might be, if they use CGI, and depending on how much they showcase She-Hulk, it could become their most expensive show.
Yeah, that's sort of the only question mark here. That I hope they don't sort of go the Agents of Shield route, where you only see She-Hulk every 5 seconds at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But then again, they had the budget for Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider was pretty predominant in whatever season he showed up. He was at least he was around each episode for 5 minutes, and they used it well. So I'm sure they could sort of do that kind of conceit to save money while keeping the character around.
Next up on the news list, it's going another Disney Plus show. It's going to be about Moon Knight, and news reports coming in saying that it's expected to begin filming this November. And Charles, I have a question for you. For a casual fan who doesn't know anything, a little less about Moon Knight, how big of a character is Moon Knight in the MCU?
I think he's pretty big because if you're saying MCU like cinematic universe,
Yes.
it's sort of the first official Marvel Studios introduction of a vigilante type character
Hmm.
who
Mm.
operates on the streets. He's not like a big super save the world type of guy. He's like save the city type of character. And of course, you could easily say, "Oh, Daredevil did that like a few years earlier," but we're talking about the official Marvel Studio sort of MCU. I think it's big because, like I said, we're gonna see a world we haven't seen on screen, or rather, on in the canon MCU, where we could potentially see crossovers between characters here. We might see. I'm hoping we see Hawkeye in the show for some reason because he's sort of a
Mm.
speed type character who could like jump both worlds from save the world type of threats to save the neighborhood type of threats. He's like the perfect character for it, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
they knock it out of the park because they got the budget for this. They got all the stuff they need to actually pull off the suit, his gadgets, the moon. The moon. I forgot what you call this like jet. The
Oh,
jet that
Yeah.
like a moon. They're gonna do that. They're gonna basically give us the Marvel version of Batman with this.
I have only read the recent run with Mr. Knight and all his various incarnations, but I think the really interesting thing about Moon Knight is on the one side he is pretty much Marvel's equivalent to Batman, but at the same time I just like the fact that especially with him having a Disney Plus series, they could go all in on the mind fuckery, let's say, because they're already doing so many risky things, and just imagining him going through these different personalities and him kind of losing himself throughout the show to uncover who he is or what really the backstory is. And like they have the mythological connection, so he lives in a world with like god living gods. How does someone who's unsure, who has different personalities, cope with the fact that maybe the god that's talking to him from Egyptian history may or may not be real? And they can do so much with that in addition to just going all in on his gadgets and different costumes. I'm really excited because I just think it's first, like Charles said, the street level characters we haven't really seen like that. It could be a small scale story
Yeah.
that kind of and it opens the floodgates to much more adult storytelling in the MCU to a certain degree.
No one has been cast yet as the titular
Mm.
hero. Who are your number one choice for this one? Like, who do you think should play this character?
He's sort of a hard character to nail. I mean, I see a lot of Shia LaBeouf. I see obviously Daniel Radcliffe.
Hmm.
I honestly think they should go with like an unknown because there's something special about getting someone no one else that you know is gonna be you know who's gonna blow up once this show goes live on air. So it's I don't have anyone in mind currently, but it is the fact that it's shooting at the end of the year, only like a couple of months away because I mean we're 2 months away from Black Widow. A couple of days ago it felt like forever, but now we're here.
Yes.
But so we're gonna get that bit of news really soon, and I'm glad that they have a date for it.
I'm same with Charles right now. I have no idea who they could go. I heard also rumors Zac Efron or at least similar actors to Zac Efron are being looked at. I do think because if I remember correctly, has a strong Jewish heritage, the character. So I'm sure that will play a factor when casting him. It's going to be interesting. I think it's a character they can do a lot with. Depending on the actor, they can also go absolutely bonkers. I'm very very curious, and it looks like with the beginning filming in November, like we're getting a lot of the shows that were announced up till 2022, probably next year already.
Like, given the timeline of production, like in November, he's going to start production, and then the possible release date, according to sources, will be late 2021 or early 2022, which is in line with the production timeline of Marvel Studios.
Mm,
Last news on the week of the roundup, it's Falcon and the Winter Soldier are undergoing reshoots due to the latest updates on the coronavirus. This is because the previous rumor states that it's somewhat similar to the storyline that they're building up to. Just what do you think? Should this be a concern, or should just are we is this going to be okay?
I think it's sort of it's an Disney isn't aren't idiots. They know what this could possibly look like if they end up having a story that's oddly similar to what's going on in a real world where people are actually dying. And it's I think it's just as smart for them to just say, oh shit, maybe we need to tone this down. Maybe it's not the best thing to do to you know come up with a story that involves a virus outbreak, sort of, because we've heard throughout the last few months that you know that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier story may involve something like a virus sort of outbreak,
Yes.
the Mad Bomb. We've been hearing about the Mad Bomb for so long. That was sort of in the books for this show. I mean, we don't know if it's correct, but if they're doing reshoots due to the Corona scare, I think it's safe to assume that those rumors might be a little bit true. So good on them for
Mm,
changing what they want to change, because yeah, you gotta be sensitive to what's happening in the world. People are actually dying. The death count is in the thousands mark, and as Joe said earlier
Yeah.
before we recorded, it's finally hit Europe. So they want
yes.
to be as sensitive to what's happening in the real world as possible. Yeah.
Will
Nah.
will this affect the release date?
I don't think so as far as now. The question is to me is like how will they tone it down? Because I don't think they'll get the top. It is a very topical thing to talk about. It is a real thing that happens in this world. So I can imagine them maybe they had a scene of it breaking out and that's what they're kind of toning down or getting rid of or just talking about like it being a threat.
Mm,
I don't think it'll postpone the release date for now, but I think in March now we should get like an update on the release schedule with the European event for the launch because it comes here end of March. Yeah, it's it's kind of difficult for them to balance out the fact that this is happening. This is a problem right now. Companies are closing, schools are closing, sending people home. Um, and like I know a lot of people here in Europe and Austria at least right now are stocking up on food and things just to be safe.
scary.
So it's been heavy and I absolutely can understand that a show that they would go, you know what, we need to tone this down. We need to be careful because this is actually scaring people. Like and I know a lot of people that have been keeping up on the news and it hasn't been this bad for a long time when it comes to like a virus spread.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with this. But Disney has always been very considerate when it comes to these factoids, so I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it in mind.
All right. Those are the five news of the MCU in the past week on the rundown. Now we're gonna move on to the exchange, and we have an interesting topic today. And this has been an ongoing trend. Last year when Avengers Endgame was showing, like before it released in cinemas, several people did the MCU movie marathon. Like they watch an MCU movie every week. They watch an MCU movie marathon for like several hours a day just in order to get hooked, just in order to be informed of what's this all about. Now, guys, I have a question. If you're going to introduce someone new to the MCU, what movie or scene will you make him or her watch in order for that person to get hooked? I'll start with you, Joe.
I have to say that would be for me the Guardians of the Galaxy. A lot of my friends, like Austria, is not a big superhero film country. You have people that are fans of it, but it's not like the biggest thing here as it is mostly. But what a lot of people liked and a lot of friends, they always talked about Guardians of the Galaxy because it's so out there. It's kind of a great introduction into these crazy shenanigans that can happen in this universe while also being like, you know what, there's actual also it's not too much superheroes, but still you get a good grasp of the characters. It's a lot of fun. It hooks people. It has the visual flair to get them in. And for me it would be just the intro for that movie because I know a lot of friends that got hooked on the MCU while watching Guardians of the Galaxy because everyone talked about how funny it was, like this Indiana Jones kind of sequence, but he's singing and dancing around. It was surreal but funny, and I think that's a good way to get people interested to watch more.
An interesting part, Joe, is that the trailer music is entitled "Hook in a Feeling,"
Yeah.
and the soundtrack's good. Soundtrack's great. You know, that's what makes
Yeah,
people like it.
yeah. I mean, the soundtrack was like for I remember distinctly the months following Guardians of the Galaxy. A lot of people older than us fell in love with the movie just for the soundtrack alone. Like they were people were saying, I haven't heard the song since I was like in college back in the day. So James Gunn did the brilliant part of hooking non-superhero fans just with the music alone. I think yeah, that's a fantastic pick. Well, I actually, I take pride in getting my grandparents into the MCU.
Wow.
Especially
Nice.
my grandmother fucking loves these films. She hasn't seen all because they're just too many for her to watch, but I have specifically created films that she should watch so that she would get a good grasp on the MCU. And I think for both my grandparents, for my grandmom and my granddad, I think the most effective one was uh it was a toss up between Avengers and Winter Soldier. My granddad is a very snobby film guy. He likes watching a lot of old 70s 80s movies, and the fact that Winter Soldier got a lot of inspiration from a lot of 80s 70s action thrillers, he sort of got a kick out of that because he was telling me, oh, it's like that old Gene Hackman movie I watched.
Yeah.
It's like
Aw.
a it's like a Jason Bourne movie. So I think that's sort of the perfect film to introduce someone who's not into superheroes and stuff. But for if you're like introducing it to someone who's open to crazier, a lot funner stuff, I think the first Avengers is the perfect choice for it because
Yeah.
it's sort of the most balanced introduction to everyone. You learn about Hulk, you learn about Captain America, you learn about Iron Man, Hawkeye, everyone, Thor. It's sort of the perfect introduction, but for me, it's a toss up between Winter Soldier and the first.
My pick, like if I will introduce someone new to the MCU, make him or her watch this movie. It's somewhat personal to me because I got hooked by the MCU because of the Avengers, first Avengers film.
Mm,
It's a complete movie. It's a complete movie. Like even if you haven't watched the past Phase One movies, kind of sort of um,
yeah.
get introduced to these characters. Like there's the first few scenes, the first 30 minutes is like an establishing of the six Avengers, right?
Mm.
Like it's great, and then on top of that, the most iconic scene in the MCU for me right now, even after Endgame, is the Avengers One assemble scene, like in New York and Hulk. I'm always angry, and then they all circle it up. That scene is enough for me, like to show, hey, this is the MCU, like heroes coming together, like a crossover in the
Mm.
movies. This is the first time it's happening, so you have to watch this. All right, we have Avengers 1, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy. There's so many scenes, like, but I just want to say this, like, for all of you guys, like, who wants to introduce the MCU to someone new, check out our YouTube account. Charles has made several videos about the MCU, the road to Civil War, the road to Infinity War, the road to the end, and that's those kinds of videos um, will make you want to see the movies all over again, even if you're a big fan of the MCU or not,
Mm.
right? That even before joining MCUExchange, that's where I watch. That's what I watch. That's what I watch. Those
Wow.
kinds of videos. And
Yeah.
shout out to you, Charles.
They're
Those
always a
Thanks.
good
Yeah.
have
highlight.
million views, guys. Proven and tested. So you should go over at the MC Exchange YouTube account and search for it. And give a shout out to Charles as well. So, guys, if you want to suggest topics for those who are listening, suggest topics, or you just want to give out comments, comment on the YouTube account, or you can tweet us at MC Exchange. You can also comment on the latest post in our Facebook page and give us an idea on what to talk about on the exchange, and we'll give you a shout out if that idea will be featured here. Speaking of social media accounts, please do follow us on Twitter. That's twitter.com/MCUExchange for all the latest news. Also on Facebook, I have a new Facebook page. It currently has several likes already. Please do like it. That's facebook.com/themcuexchange. And also follow us on YouTube for all our podcasts and also what I said earlier, the video content about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You don't want to miss that. That's totally great. Totally amazing. You can also follow us on Twitter. My Twitter account is Aaron Chino. That's AERONCHINO. Joe, your Twitter?
At that Albel, THATABERL.
Charles, your Twitter?
You can follow me on Twitter at CFS Villanueva.
Awesome. And on that note, this has been another episode of the MCU Exchange podcast. 2 months away from Black Widow. Can't wait to see it.
Woo!
Until next time, guys. Bye.
Till next time.